Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana video. Happy Friday. I hope you and yours are doing well. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all my dads out there. Hopefully you can play some Lorcana, maybe open some packs, add some cards to the collection. What else could you ask for Father's Day? So hope you all have a great weekend. With that being said, today we're going to talk about the sealed booster box, or not sealed, but the booster box side of Lorcana. Going to talk about expected values, which sets you might be able to open right now for a little bit of a profit, which sets you should probably set on the sideline, and then to round us out at the end, we're going to talk about the sealed kind of investment side of things for some of these sets that are getting out of rotation. Right, prices have been really stagnant. What's the upside there? Kind of talked about that a little bit as well. With that being said, I do want to kind of the topic for today's discussion. I'm using some information from the Discord. There's a channel in the Discord called the Booster Box EV channel, and this is someone in the community has kind of brought forth an algorithm that runs every night and then posts the expected value of each box or each set in the Discord, and then it also gives you the biggest movers over the last 24-hour period impacting the price changes for the given set. That is in the Discord. It's available. It's free of charge. Anyone can join the Discord and look at it. What I will say, though, just to preface this, is it's a privilege, not a right. I am not. It's in my Discord, but I'm not providing this information. Someone in the community who wishes to remain anonymous has been gracious enough to share this with us, and so don't come in with a bunch of questions. Don't come in with a bunch of feedback, etc. Like, I've been going off these numbers for a year. They're accurate. They're good. They assume traditional pull rates. It's a 35-cent floor. Like, you'll see all of it in there. Just, once again, it's free. Don't come in and be overly critical about it, or maybe we'll take it away. I don't know. Nevertheless, it's in the Discord if you want it. I wanted to plug that here so that way everyone was aware of it. So we are going to start with kind of some easy ones here, looking at sets like the first chapter. So the first chapter of Disney Lorcana, it saw a 46-cent increase day over day, and the expected value, it's now up to $127. So that's your expected value. You open a first chapter box. Biggest shift was the Rapunzel Gift with Healing cold foil went up 80 cents went up $1 overnight. So that was the biggest mover there. So not a lot of movement there. Obviously, the first chapter, I think it goes without saying, this has hit peak collectability, or it's a collector's item now. $1,400 is the lowest price on the market for a sealed case. That puts the price per box at around $350 essentially, and that's at that price. If you open a first chapter booster box, you're just a silly goose. Look, if you're new to Lorcana and you want to open a box, all for it, right? Just know that, like, you're going to get no semblance of return there unless you're incredibly lucky and pretty much just pull like the Elsa, Tinkerbell, or Stitch at this point. I guess if you pulled like the Belle or the Maui, you'll come out okay as well, because you're going to get other cards to make up some of that value as well. But by and large, this is definitely a collector's item. Now, I think it is worth talking about, like, what's going to cause, a box like this to move up. And so that's what we're going to talk on the back end of, like, is it just going to be $1,400 forever? Is it going to come down? Will it ever escalate? What's kind of the trajectory there and the thought process? So we'll go over that. Rise of the Floodborne right now is sitting at $68 for expected value. Not much movement overnight. And that is as low as Rise of the Floodborne has been for a long time. We look at the lowest individual English box on the market. You're sitting at $160. So definitely a lot closer in terms of value. It's it's $100 off versus the $200 that the first chapter is. Still not in a fantastic spot. If you are looking to get these cards for your playsets, for your decks, etc., I would definitely recommend a different language variant. Chinese and Japanese are both standard and legal when you go to set champs, when you go to DLC events. All languages will be allowed. And so obviously you need to have some sort of understanding of what the card says and does if you're not going to be able to read the characters from a different language. But I definitely would recommend opening either Japanese, Chinese, etc. to get some cheaper cards into your collection. Rise of the Floodborne booster box cases sitting at a $600 floor, which is pretty much the same as price as an individual box, centered around like 150, no, even 150 per box. And so there's these are two sets that I would definitely kind of set on the the collectible shelves, not much to be ripped there, in my opinion. Moving on to Into the Inklands, down at $45 of expected value. This is mostly due to rotations. Obviously, you can see that the cheapest case on the market is $400. I would not be ripping that case, that's for sure. An individual booster box sitting at $73. All in there from Smart Style. I think that this box, obviously that's not bad, right? $73 for a box. You're able to, your expected value is 45. That's, you know, 20, 30 bucks. If you need some Into the Inklands, once again, not the worst thing in the world, but definitely a box that just, it's I wouldn't consider Into the Inklands is like whatever, right? It's printed to absolute oblivion. It's not going to be like, it's going to take, it's kind of like if you're on like the sealed investment stuff, like it's kind of like going to be like an Evolutions like style of obviously way less iconic than something like XY Evolutions. But like the thought process with Evolutions is it was printed so much it'll never be worth anything. And then it took time, but it eventually, you know, saw a lot of appreciation as it relates to price. Something like Into the Inklands, it's going to take a long time to see any sort of growth on this box. One of the worst purchases I ever made in Lorcana was buying a sealed Into the Inklands booster box case the day of release, and it's been sitting there ever since. It definitely hasn't gone up in value, that is for sure. But Into the Inklands sitting at $45. So once again, boxes are cheap. If you need to open Inklands, go for it. My recommendation would be to buy the singles for pretty much all of these sets thus far. Ursula's Return, fighting with Into the Inklands for the worst set in existence. $45 expected value for an Ursula's Return booster box. Currently sitting at 84, lowest on TCG Player. If you go and get a case, you can get one for $400. So very similar vibes here to Into the Inklands. Not a lot going on as it relates to the expected value and the price of the box, even a little bit worse than Into the Inklands, given that the boxes are a little bit more expensive. This is another one where I would just go out and buy the singles that you need. If you need some Diablos, if you need whatever, go and buy them. If you're looking at Into the Inklands, you need some Robin Hoods, go and buy them. The singles from these sets are so incredibly cheap because of the news of rotations. If you're not familiar, sets 1 through 4 will no longer be tournament legal in Core Constructed starting in September, or I guess technically late August. And so that's why a lot of people are phasing out these cards from their collections and they're kind of fire selling them. I would argue that there's a substantial opportunity there, picking up some of these grails from the first 4 sets that were that controlled the meta when they were in it. As we look into something like Infinity Constructed, I just think that those singles are drastically mispriced. I think people overreacted to the rotation news, and they're going to be very, very sad once some more tournament support comes out for Infinity Constructed. Moving over to Shimmering Skies. Shimmering Skies is currently sitting at $63, so a decent bump there from a lot of our from set 3 and set 4. When we look at an individual Shimmering Skies booster box case, sitting at $444, so 110 a box essentially. When you look at an individual box, you're sitting at $105 with an expected value at 63. Once again, not the best in the world, not the absolute worst. The one thing about Shimmering Skies is it's going to be in the meta for another 15 months, right? This is the first set that is not going to be rotated, so I'm kind of calling it the base set because it's just the first. It's going to be the oldest set in existence post rotation, and so this is one where I think it does have some decent upside. If you are going to buy it sealed, I think there's a world where some of the singles in the set become very reliable moving forward, and therefore that's going to lead to increased expected value, a lot of increased ripping. I think right now it's still in a great place to pick up the singles, some of the iconic legendaries from the set, like the Mufasa, like the Clarabelle. I talked about in my video yesterday. Right now is definitely a time to be aggressive on the single front, but with a $62 expected value, 105 price tag for the lowest box on the market, definitely not the best to open by any means. I think it's in a good spot as it relates to sealed, right? In terms of like short-term investment and speculation. I don't even really call that, it's not an investment. Like you're just speculating, short-term speculation. I think Shimmering Skies is in a good spot. Into the Inklands, Ursula's Return, not so much. first chapter in Floodborne. I think they're going to do phenomenally as an investment, long-term, short-term speculation. I think there's better places for your money. Personally, Azurite Sea currently sitting at $73. Now, this is one where we've actually got some decent chance to open here. So if I can find Azurite Sea, it is blending in. Where's it at? I don't even see the cases. Am I crazy? Did I not select it? All right, Azurite Sea, where'd it go? I'm like literally losing my mind. I'm at, oh, okay. All right, booster box case of Azurite Sea. $366 is the lowest on the market. Now, once again, our expected value is 73, so not terrible. That's not great, but it's not terrible. But when you look at the individual boxes for Azurite Sea, which for some reason I just cannot, there we go, cannot find, there is a listing that you can, it can be okay to open these and you actually be all right. So 5-lane cards, they have booster boxes at $76 a piece. Now they do have $15 of shipping on there, but that is for the entire order. So what this store is kind of banking on is that you only buy one, you pay the $76 plus the $15 in shipping, $91 plus taxes shipped to your door. But what you could do, in theory, is just go and buy all 20. You're only going to pay the shipping once, and then you're getting booster boxes for essentially, $76.50, right? After you add in the shipping per box, etc., $76.50 for the entire order shipped to your door. Now, with the Azurite Sea boost expected value being at 73, that kind of puts you in a decent spot, especially for a set that is going to be around for a while. It's got the most valuable legendary in existence in it, being the Half Shark Maui, and in my opinion, that would be a decent game plan. Now, look, do you want to open 20 boxes of Azurite Sea? That's up to you. But I'm just saying, should you have enough capital and want to go through that much volume, there is a decent opening opportunity as it relates to Azurite Sea. Definitely a lot closer than any of our other sets thus far. I will say that the unique thing about Azurite Sea is that the percentage of the expected value is only that's made up by Enchanted is only 17%, which is the lowest by far. You look at something like the first chapter, 41% of the expected value from that box is made up of the Enchanted value. Azurite Sea, the Enchanteds are just, they didn't hit. They was just a massive miss, is what it is. I've said it a million times. I don't fault them for doing it. But that box being at only 17% of the expected value, the playable cards have a lot of legs in the set. They're holding, it's double into the Inklands. It's double Ursula's Return almost in terms of expected value. And that's with getting hardly any value from the Enchanteds. So that's just to say that as we continue to move forward, we get into Fabled, Whispers in the Well, Set 11, Set 12. Some of these Azurite Sea singles could see massive run-ups. And so if you're able to get 20 boxes now, open them, kind of sit on those singles for a little bit, you could be well positioned when we see those cards run up over time. Next up, Arcasia's Island sitting at $91, went down $1 overnight. It looks like Scrooge McDuck went down a little bit, and Tamito Happy as a Clam went down a little bit. Nothing dramatic there. We look at Arcasia's Island, you're sitting at about a 110 per box for the case, and then an individual booster box is sitting at, just at 100, or I guess with shipping, you're at 107 there with the expected value of 92. So once again, not in a terrible spot. This is one that I would still go ahead and buy singles for because I just think that a lot of the cards are undervalued right now. Our Enchanted percentage is 30% for this box, so you've got that's more of a standard percentage of like Enchanteds that are good, that are valued to the market, and then the other values coming from cold foils and standard cards. 30% Enchanted, I think, is a really good, just kind of like medium margin of Enchanteds that are very valuable, but also 70% of the box that's coming from the core set. So that is currently where we stand for Arcasia's Island. Reign of Jafar is really our big opener right now. We are sitting at $121 in expected value. It went up $4 overnight. A lot of that is off the back of Rhino, Lady, and then the Mickey Mouse Giant Mouse, all seeing run-ups. We did see Namari come down a little bit. Expected, our Enchanted percentage is only 25% of that set, so you've got a really strong mix of Enchanteds that are being valued with the combination of the core set, things like the Rhino getting a lot of value and increasing in value. I think that we are poised right now for Reign of Jafar to be in it's look, this has been bought a lot, right? You see all the hundreds of sales that have happened over the last couple of days on TCG Player. That's in combination with everyone who went to their LGS to buy it, right? That's something that's unique to Lorcana, where like Pokemon comes out, online distributors like Rudy or whoever can just sell it the day it's released. With Lorcana, these game stores, they have to sell in person for the first 7 days for this set for Reign of Jafar, typically more like 10 to 14. But this paints a picture just like you got to take all of those boxes out that have already been ripped, and then you're still seeing hundreds of sales come through pretty much every 2 to 3 day sample size here, and that's going to lead to a lot of boxes being ripped. But the expected value of the set is still very, very high, even when you look at the box prices at 110. Right? I know a lot of stores, if you're diligent, if you're finding good deals, etc., you can get Reign of Jafar for about $100 right now. Expected value sitting at 121. That's a very, very, very good spot to be. So in terms of like for my rippers out there, if you're looking to open some product, Reign of Jafar still remains the best use case for that, in my opinion. And then some other close ones would be like Arcasia's Island, Azurite Sea. And then if you want to open some stuff like Into the Inklands and Ursula's Return, you can. Even Shimmering Skies. Really leave Rise of the Floodborne and the first chapter to the collectible side of things. Those have kind of ran their course as it relates to opening. But Reign of Jafar definitely sits in a very, very good spot right now. So that's kind of our booster box expected value report. Should you rip it? Should you keep it sealed? That's where we're at. My recommendation would be 1 through 4 are sealed at this point. 5 through 8, if you need to rip it, if you want to rip it, okay. Definitely set 8. Set 7's fine. Set 6 is fine. Set 5, a little bit too far off in terms of my when I'm making my judgment, my assertion on it. But that's just because I really enjoy the booster pack opening experience. I've mentioned it on the channel many times. It's something I do with my family. It's something that we really enjoy. Watching my daughter pull an Enchanted never gets old. Like, that always hits. That's a timeless classic. Yeah, watching her get all excited and daddy, look what I pulled, this Donald Duck or whatever. Like, that's just my that's endorphins at the highest level for me. So that's, I like to open packs, and so I like to look at this stuff, like the expected value, to kind of see, hey, what can I maybe get a decent chance of pulling an Enchanted while also selling singles, coming back at a decent spot, and how can I be as strategic as possible while opening these booster packs that are typically a losing experience, right? Whether that's opening Pokemon, Magic, etc. You're normally going to be losing a lot of money when you open booster packs. That's just part of the gambling aspect that's kind of baked into this whole experience. But if you can do it in times like this with Reign of Jafar, where, you're not guaranteed to get your money back, right? There's no guarantee in it, but you're giving yourself a fighting chance, right? And that's always what I'm looking for. And so if you can catch like Best Buy on a clearance deal with some of these sets or whatever it is, like, that's how I've opened a lot of product for Lorcana and built up the collection that I have, is just like being strategic with when these Black Friday sales come or these clearance sales come or whatever. Like, we're very blessed right now that the scalpers and Team Rocket have not came over to Lorcana yet. The villains have kind of let the boxes be at a reasonable price. They're not getting scalped to the moon unless it's the first chapter. And so that's provided a lot of us who have been around the ability to get product very cheap and roll that into opening it, selling the singles, etc. So I think that's where we're at for the sealed stuff right now. Now, I do want to talk about sets 1 through 4 and how they've really become collectibles at this point, in my opinion. As they get rotated out, I think that they're just going to be ripped less and less and less. I think there's I wonder so much about the long-term trajectory of Lorcana. I should state my position here in the beginning. I do have sealed cases of the first chapter. I have sealed cases of Rise of the Floodborne. I have sealed cases of Into the Inklands. I do not have any sealed cases of Ursula's Return. I view the sealed stuff as, it's not something that I enjoy. I love the art. I love Lorcana at its core, playing the game, collecting the promos, enjoying the cards with my daughter and with my family. The sealed stuff is very boring to me. I don't get any enjoyment out of it. But I also know that in 5 to 10 years from now, if I don't have, I'm here from the beginning, right? If I don't have a sealed case of the first chapter just tucked away to just even like look at, reminisce, whatever, like, I will regret that, right? And so while I don't view this as like a 401k or whatever, like, I understand value, I understand markets. The sealed stuff is just a piece of the ecosystem at this point. And so I do participate in it. much more the individual card side of things. I don't care where you fall. I have no desire to be this arbiter of what's morally right and what's wrong, right? That's for you all. I could care less. Do whatever makes you happy. As long as it doesn't impact me or anyone else, I don't care. With that being said, the sets 1 through 4, like, I think that we have to get to a point where either Infinity Constructed really picks up and that drives value back to the singles, or we see some massive collector boom and that drives value to the Enchanteds, and that's going to start to raise the floor price of these boxes. I think over time, they're definitely, like, I think they're at their lowest that they're going to be right now, really across all 4 sets, whether that's first chapter, Ursula's Return, everything in between. I think that they're at like kind of like all-time lows in terms of what we're going to see moving forward. Now that's assuming we don't get reprints, which we've never been officially told that we're not. But I think that if you're on the investment side and you're buying any boxes right now, I think that you're in a fantastic spot to go out and get those and just tuck them away, right? That's assuming you are treating them. When I say investment, I'm talking long term. I'm talking 5 to 10 years. I'm not talking about short term speculation. I think if you're only speculating in the short term, I think doing something like Pokemon or whatever, right? If TCGs are your avenue or medium of short term speculation, I think there's better places to do it. Now, in terms of long-term investments, I don't think there's better places to do it. I think that you would be a fool to, pass up on a first chapter box at the same price as like a brand new Team Rocket box or something like that. Like, one of these is probably out of print. One of these is likely to be printed for years to come. I always like to remember, or remind everyone, like, Evolving Skies were being put into tins in Target last year in 2024. Like, do not think that the Pokemon Company is not going to print to demand. Like, sure, things are massively hot right now. I hope everyone makes infinite money on their Pokemon. But, like, there's a reason why every single Pokemon set has been available at MSRP. Even something like Base Set, like years and years after it was released, there was a time where, like, you couldn't sell base set boxes anymore because they had been printed so much and demand had died off so much. So, like, just look, I love Pokemon. I hope it does very well. Just, I like to remind people that when it becomes something that it can't fail, it's going to start to fail. Like, that's just kind of the nature of human behavior. So just, something to keep in mind there. But nevertheless, buying an Ursula's Return booster box at $80, and putting it away, I think it's a great price. Buying a first chapter booster box at $350, putting away, I think it's a great price. Once again, it's not something like I've kind of got what I want there. I'll pick up an Ursula's Return case at some point, but that's just not something that's in my immediate future. I think I've got plenty of time there. And once again, I think it's going to take some time for the singles to start to pick up, right? My guess is as we get into Worlds is going to create buzz, right? People are going to get into Lorcana because of Worlds, right? Hopefully it's a good production. Hopefully there's great marketing around it. It's all over Disney World. It's all over Disneyland. It's being broadcasted on Twitch, on YouTube, somewhere in like Disney, whatever. Like maybe on Disney Plus, you can see the Lorcana World Championships. Like, I hope they really blow it up to be the spectacle that it should be. This is a absolutely historical moment in time. The very first Disney Lorcana World Championships. We should all be there. I'll say, that really stinks, but nevertheless, that's going to create a massive growth cycle, in my opinion. That going into rotations, then getting the Infinity Constructed DLC events, as well as Infinity Constructed a whole new world promo that's coming in December. These Infinity Constructed formats that are going to bring the cards that are getting rotated out of rotation into into a current meta, I think that's going to provide a massive bump to some of these cards. And so that's why right now, like some of the singles I went over yesterday, like the Tamatoa from the first chapter, like a whole new world, like Tinkerbell, maybe not to such a degree because she's getting reprinted. Some of these legendaries like Diablo, right? Like, there's a massive buying opportunity right now. They are going to support Infinity Constructed. There are going to be tournaments. There's going to be playability. There might even be set champs for Infinity Constructed. And so right now there's a massive buying opportunity on those singles. But I think it's going to take widespread growth to Infinity Constructed to really drive people back to the boxes, to really see them have that depreciating aspect that we all love about the booster box investing side of things right now. because there's not a lot of sets 1 through 4 getting ripped right now. There's just simply not a lot, right? And so that's why it's you're not going to see the boxes move very much because the supply is not diminishing at a very big rate. That in combination with Enchanteds right now are just extremely undervalued. And until we get some sort of boom in terms of collectors, whether that's a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever it takes for Lorcana to become truly a collectible, I think things like Fabled are going to help massively with that. Things like Worlds, things like Pixar getting into set that'll be set 13. There's a lot that's coming that's going to increase the collectability, but we kind of need one of two things to happen for these boxes to really see their prices and values shoot up as relates to short-term speculation, and that is a massive pickup in Infinity Constructed or a massive pickup in the collector base, because there has to be some sort of appreciation in the singles. I know I disagree with a lot of you all that you think that singles do not matter to the box price. They're collectible and they are investment. They are an investment. I disagree with that at a core level. I agree in a sense, but I value, like, to me that's just like a you're just trading the boxes back and forth. It's like an NFT, but it's physical, and you're just kind of like trading it back and forth. If no one values the underlying product, they're not going to value the box itself, right? Like, there has to be value to the singles, and like I firmly believe that, like, when you look at these vintage box breaks, like, the reason why a first ed base Pokemon booster box is 200K is because the first ed base Charizard in a PSA 10 is 200K. Like, I think the price of these boxes is tied to the underlying assets. And if the singles are never collectible in Lorcana, or if Infinity Constructed never picks up, it's going to be a slow race for these boxes, right? It's going to be up and to the right, but there's going to be some ups and downs, and it's going to be pretty slow, right? And so just that's my thoughts, is like the short-term speculation. Now, look, I have said it many times. I am in Disney Lorcana for at least the next 5 years. That's like bare minimum for me. I am positioned with my family, with my kids, where, like, as Pixar's coming out, my son's going to be at a perfect age. We love Toy Story. I have a daughter who just turned 1. She's going to be getting into the Frozens and all the princesses. My oldest daughter she's now 6, going to be 7 October. So she's definitely still young enough to be into it, but I'm sure will slowly start to, like, phase out. But then we're going to start playing the game. She's going to learn to read and do all this stuff. So, like, I'm going to be around for a while. Right now, where my family is at, I'm well positioned to kind of grow with this game, right? And so it just makes a perfect fit for our family. And so, like, my first chapter cases that I've sealed, put away, like, those are just like, it's not short-term speculation for me. Like, I don't care what the price does. I'm completely agnostic to it. The first chapter cases could go to 500 tomorrow. My cases are still sitting in the closet. I'll use that as a time to leverage in at a lower cost basis and DCA. Like, that's just kind of like how I look at it. But I truly do have a long-term time horizon on those boxes. I see them as an investment, not as short-term speculation. I know, call it what you want. I just know that we all think about this stuff differently, and that's my take on it. I think in order for these boxes to really go up in price in the short term, I think we need one of two things to happen. I think we need an increased, or we need good buy-in, not increase because it doesn't exist yet. Good buy-in to Infinity Constructed, or good buy-in to as a collector base into the Enchanted singles, especially the ones that get rotated out, which, full transparency, I think will happen. I'm very bullish on Lorcana as a game, as a collectible. Like, I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I think that we are flying under the radar I can't believe how much Lorcana is flying under the radar. I was looking at something on Riftbound today, and on the Riftbound, like, how is Riftbound going to succeed, or what do you think Riftbound is the League of Legends trading card game? Lorcana was in there getting pooped on, and someone was saying that, like, the game is dead, and I'm just thinking, like, they don't understand that, like, all the things that I talk about all the time, in conjunction with, like, the second that the DLC events are announced and registrations opens, they are going to sell out that quick around the world. The second these events are posted, they're going to sell out. That is the demand for the game. We're going through a lull, but the competitive and desire to play the game has not changed at all. As long as that flame is still burning bright and people like me are still collecting and people like you guys are still playing, collecting, nothing's going to happen to Lorcana. And sure, it's not being scalped and it's not the best 401k. That is good. That's giving you the time to get the cards for your deck, for your collection. Like, that's why, like, right now you are in a historical moment in time. This June 13th, 2025 is an amazing time to be involved in Lorcana. Don't let the rotation FUD or, whatever Reddit person was mad their Diablo went down from $30 to $20 and they're selling their collection. Like, that stuff's not real. Like, that doesn't matter. The health of the game is very, very good. Their communication woes and their hiccups of reprinting the same arts in Fable, that stuff exists, but it's very, very small scale. It's minute. It's noise. It is not signal. And so, I try to remind you guys as much as I can about that stuff, but I love seeing a Rift-bound TCG. Someone's asking, like, hey, just honest opinions, is the game going to make it? What do you think about the health of the game? And it's not, I don't even think it's released yet here, but they're already having those discussions. And one of the top comments was a reply, someone saying, like, if Lorcana can make it, Riftbound can. It's like, well, that's not how that works. Like, sure, and I think it will do well. I played League of Legends for a long time. It's a great game. I love League. It's, once again, I've remained very adamant that right now the only TCG that makes sense for me and my family is Lorcana. I have no interest in One Piece, no interest in Pokemon, no interest whatever. And so it's just funny to see like people have got to find a way to put Lorcana down, like somehow, like they just got to. The Gen Con events were announced. Ravensburger didn't even say anything about it, but the Gen Con events were announced, sold out immediately. Like in Japan, and I'm gonna. In the description of this video, here, let's go to YouTube. I've got to give this guy a shout out. I watched his video last night, and I want to give him a shout out and really bring some attention to his channel. If you're still here, hopefully, you'll probably like his content. All right, let me share my screen again. Tom or Frugal. His thing is at Frugal. He's got 443 subscribers, 30 videos. He is an English speaker. I think he's American in Japan. He lives there, and he's currently kind of cataloging his journey being an American trying to play Lorcana in Japan. And I am very interested in how Lorcana performs in Japan because Japan is the TCG hub of the world. It is rife with just awesome IPs, building awesome trading card games. There are card shops everywhere. They're right, starting with Pokemon, things like One Piece, and all these other games that I don't even know that exist there and are very healthy. So I'm interested to see if Disney can break through there, because that will be the hardest market in my opinion. Not to necessarily break through, because there's like a Disneyland in Tokyo, right? So there's obviously, look, the mouse is worldwide. We know that. But as a trading card game specifically, I'm very interested to see if it can succeed there. Tom, great follow, Frugal, and thank you to the Redditor who pointed me out to him so I could go and watch his content. But he currently can't even get into set champs events out there, and sometimes can't even get into the Grand Prix events because there's so many people who want to play the game, and honestly some mismanagement on what is it's not Ravensburger who's like, Ravensburger is obviously licensing it to, is it like Takora Tomy or something like that? The company that's producing the events there are doing very, very poor with how they organize them and do the events. Like, a lot of them are capped at 8 people. He said that he travels like 3 hours to events, gets there, and then they do the drawing to see who can play like 3 minutes before the event kicks off. And like, he doesn't get it, and like 60 people are standing outside the store, and the majority of them don't even get to play. Things like the Grand Prix having 1,000 player cap, and it's nowhere near enough. Thousands of people are getting turned away. So like, right now, it is very, very hot. Now they have the Stitch that's being awarded, right? So that's an awesome card. So we'll see how it kind of continues to evolve. But right now it's extremely hot, but it seems like it's in a spot where it could begin to die off if they continue to manage these events very poorly. Like, who's gonna go and wait for 3 hours to play in an event and then get sent home? Like, that is a terrible feeling. Like, that's bad. Like, he was saying that he's got to pay like quite a bit of money to like commute there, in combination with the fact that you've got to spend all that time, in combination with the fact that you're not able to play. Like, shout out to him, Tom, for being resilient. But go check out his videos. It's really, really cool to just see how the IP is building in Japan and how the game is progressing. It's obvious that there's a massive demand for it. And I just, look, I think that if it can break through there, it can break through anywhere as a TCG, right? We know the IP is big there already. The mouse is big worldwide. It's the biggest in the world by a wide margin. And I think that, seeing how it performs there is just very interesting to me, with it being a TCG hub. So go follow Tom, go subscribe, and watch his content. He's a great content creator. So with that being said, 35-minute video on a Friday, completely unexpected, as there's tradition, ranted about a million things that I had no intention to talk about. So there you go. That's Cardboard Kingdom in a nutshell. Thank you to all the members of the channel. We're up to over 5 members now. Thank you to each and every one of you for the support. Thank you to everyone who watches the video, subscribes, and yeah, we'll be back with some more content soon. I could not wait for Worlds. That's going to be an exciting time. So hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.